Stand up.
Member to take the oath for your permission. Secretary General, please.
Of Rajasthan will take oath or affidavit. I am duly satisfied with the oath.
One, two, three. And some people from senior section also. No,
I see I have been elected a member of the lower house of the Youth Parliament. Do swear in the name of God that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India. I will faithfully discharge the duty upon which I am about to enter.
Srimati P, who stands from Thane constituency of Maharashtra, will take oath or affidavit. Madam, the Deputy Secretary wants to take the oath.
I see that the member of the I see, having been elected a member of the lower house of the Youth Parliament, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will faithfully, I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, or that I will faithfully discharge all the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Public welcomes.
Honorable members, as we meet today, it is my sad duty to inform the House of the demise of our former colleague, Sri Suresh Chandra. Sri Suresh Chandra was an agriculturist by profession and an active social worker. He worked in the rural areas, devoting his time and energy to the welfare of agricultural laborers and the uplife of the backward classes and the downtrodden. He was the president of Mazdoor Sabha Mirzapur, an able parliamentarian and an effective orator. He took keen interest in proceedings of the House. He passed away at New Delhi on 30th June 2024 at the age of 35.
Madam, I rise to pay my tribute to Sri Suresh Chandra, whose death has been deeply mourned by all. He was a young man who come from a family of freedom fighters and whose father had made a name for himself, and this tradition was carried by family. He was with us to the very last moment. He seemed to be well and happy, and therefore the shock of his passing away was all the editor. He had a bright future before him. I should like to extend my deep condolences to his family.
Ma'am, I associate myself with the tributes paid by you and the leader of the house. I had the privilege to work with Suresh Chandra as a colleague. He was a person who, because of his lovable nature and never annoyed anyone, and he was also always with a smiling face and was very open-hearted person. We have lost a very good worker, political worker and a public man in him. I would like to associate myself and my parties in sending condolences to our beloved family.
The Secretary General may convey the message of condolence to the bereaved family.
on the mic.
Introduction of new ministers.
Prime Minister to introduce the new ministers.
Madam Speaker, Madam, I have a pleasure in introducing to you and through you to the House my colleagues, the new minister, Shri Minister of Irrigation, Srimati Minister of Civil Supplies. Question hour.
Now the question hour starts. Question number 101. Shri A.
Madam Speaker, question 101. Will the Ministry of Communication be pleased to the state first whether a large number of complaints have been received by PNG department from telephone subscribers regarding misuse of STD facility by unsurplus faculty person? And 2. If so, what steps have been taken by the government regarding this?
Honorable Minister of Communications.
Yes, madam. Complaints of this nature have been received. In many cases, investigations showed that there was no spot in the meter readings and no unauthorized connections were detected. If a few cases unauthorized connections were detected and action initiated against the persons found involved in the malpractice, the government proposes to take the following steps in this regard. First, amendment of the Indian Telegraph Act to make unauthorized diversion of line a major offence. Second, setting up of vigilance squads to make surprise checks for detecting any misuse. Third, to import charge analyzers to detect such cases more easily.
Shri A.
Ma'am, some unauthorized connections were detected. I want to know what steps have been taken by the government in this regard. The specific steps have been broadly stated. We got a vigilance squad which immediately goes in it. I cannot give the exact number of complaints that have been registered. This information is being gathered. For example, I could say in Delhi during the last year,
21 days notice was not enough for the minister to collect the information in this house. The house is to be needed, ma'am.
I was not being asked to collect this information. I'm only incidentally stating that in Delhi during the last year, there was 50 such complaints. All the complaints were investigated and it was detected that in 3 companies there was misconnection. In all these cases, the employees were identified and suitably proceeded against.
Mr. B.
Madam, it has been stated that charge analyzers that have been imported have to be gone through. We have come to the final stage. I don't know by what time, but we come to the final stage.
Next question. Question number 102. Srimati C.
Madam, question number 102. Will the Minister of Energy be pleased to state 1. Whether the government have assisted the protection power generation from tidal waves? Second, if so, the outcome of such assessment. Third, the estimated cost of power generation from tidal waves, vice versa the conventional methods of thermal and hydropower electric generation. Fourth, whether the government have formulated any plan to set up tidal power stations in the Gulf of Kutch. Fifth, if so, whether such plants are to be set up in other places like Bay of Bengal, etc. Sixth, if so, the detail thereof.
Honorable Minister of Energy.
Madam, the Central Electricity Authority has undertaken studies and investigation to assess the techno-economic feasibility of a tidal power projected in the Gulf of Kutch, which emphasizes an installed capacity of about 900 megawatt. There is no proposal at present to set up a tidal power project at any other location. It is estimated that the cost of tidal power generation at the proposed project in the Gulf of Kutch will be about 85 paisa per unit. The average cost of generation from conventional hydro and thermal power projects based on projects recently cleared by CEA are as under: hydro 35 to 60 paisa per unit, thermal 50 to 85 paisa per unit.
Srimati C.
Madam, the Honorable Minister has given the reply that estimated cost of tidal power generation at the proposed project in the Gulf of Kutch will be about 85 paise per unit, and that from hydro the cost will be about 35 to 60 paise per unit, and from thermal at 50 to 85 paise per unit. I was to know from the Minister what is the estimated cost of power generation from the wind and solar systems, and if the cost of power generation from wind and solar systems is low in comparison to hydro and thermal systems, etc. Whether the pace of program of power generation of these systems of wind and solar is being increased in the country.
Madam, as far as Bing is concerned, the cost estimated is about 80 to 90 paisa and solar at present. If we take in absolute terms, it is much costlier because we have not yet been able to tap solar energy on commercial basis. But experiments are being tried. If you take the cost at the production level, then the solar cost is nearly ₹2 more than the thermal cost. We have to consider the cost level, that is cost to consumer. If that is considered, then we find that solar energy can become comparable and competitive. And we are trying to establish now a 30 megawatt electricity solar plant in Rajasthan. The scheme is being worked out.
Srimati D.
Madam, may I ask from the Honorable Minister whether the power production can be increased by 500 megawatt and coal worth 30 million tons can be saved through full exploitation of new indigenously developed technology? Madam, I agree that using tidal energy, we will be able to save coal. Because at the coastal side particularly, it is very difficult to transport coal and away from the place where coal is available. That is why if we tidal energy, we have a project which will give about 900 megawatt worth of power in the Kutch region by tidal waves. When that fructifies, the cost will be more or less the same. 80 paisa on transport of coal. Use of coal will be saved. I agree with the Honorable Member.
Srimati E.
Madam, production of energy is an important aspect and must thank the Minister and the Ministry for a coordinated and overall development. But the transport of energy, that is transmission of energy should be very important factor since the loss involves 30% at other end. And what are the special measures and research that you are undertaking, more particularly in superconductivity, so that transmission cost is saved at least? What is the program technological and technical advancement program for transmission of electricity, particularly through the system like superconductivity, etc.?
As far as transmission losses are concerned, today the average transmission loss is about 21 to 23%. 50 of this theft. We have made central laws, state also have laws to save it. And this theft is possible only when there is collusion. We want to take firm action. State electricity boards must take firm action about this matter. As far as the technical losses are concerned, I agree with the Honorable Member that with new technology advances like superconductivity, the technical losses will come down very sharply, and our nation is, in fact, one of the advanced countries in the world in the field of research in the superconductivity. I am sure it will be great boom to this area of transmission of power.
प्रश्न 103 श्रीमती टी।
माननीय महोदया, तकनीकी विकास की दिशा में हमारा देश आसमान की ऊंचाइयों को छू रहा है। यह तो हम सभी जानते हैं, पूरी दुनिया भी जानती है। लेकिन तकनीकी के नाम पे मेक इन इंडिया, स्किल इंडिया, डिजिटल इंडिया का नारा लगाकर हर तरह से जनता को, विशेषकर आम जनता को चक्कर में डाल रही है। साथ ही आधार पहचान के लिए लोगों को करीब से करीब सारी जानकारियां सुरक्षित है और इस पर भी हमला होने से बहुत सारी मुश्किल खड़ी हो सकती है। मैं दूसरी बात यह बताना चाहूँगी कि मुझे बड़े अफसोस के साथ कहना पड़ता है कि हमारे देश में आज भी कुछ ऐसे इलाके मौजूद हैं जहाँ के लोगों ने कंप्यूटर देखा तक नहीं। तो आप लोग मुझे यह बताइए कि इस हालात में सरकार जो योजनाएं बनाती है उसे कैसे साकार बना सकती है।
तकनीकी विकास मंत्री कृपया जवाब दें।
माननीय महोदया, आपने जो सवाल हम पर उठाया है, मैं उस पर यह कहना चाहती हूँ कि दरअसल हमारे देश को पूर्ण तरह से डिजिटल रूप में सशक्त बनाने के लिए ही भारत सरकार ने डिजिटल इंडिया अभियान की योजना बनाई है। इसके पीछे का मुख्य लक्ष्य यह है कि कागजी कार्रवाई को घटाने के दौरान भारतीय नागरिकों को इंटरनेट की सेवा उपलब्ध कराना, साथ ही जरूरी सूचनाओं को तेज गति के साथ इंटरनेट की मदद से ग्रामीण एवं शहरी क्षेत्रों के लोगों को आपस में जोड़ना भी है। इसी उद्देश्य को ध्यान में रखकर ही हमने 1 जुलाई 2015 को इस पहल की शुरुआत की थी। महोदया, यह न केवल सेवा प्रदाता और उपभोक्ता दोनों को ही फायदा दिलाते हैं। यही हमारे डिजिटल इंडिया का मुख्य लक्ष्य है।
ऑर्डर।
प्रश्न 104 श्रीमती एल।
माननीय महोदया, मैं सामाजिक न्याय एवं महिला सशक्तिकरण मंत्री से यह पूछना चाहूंगी कि हमारे भारत देश में स्त्रियों को पुरुषों के समान अधिकार प्राप्त है, ऐसा कहा गया है, परंतु वास्तव में देखा जाए तो यह केवल कहने के लिए है। वास्तविकता एकदम इसके विपरीत ही है। आज भी स्त्री समाज, जिसे भगवान कहा जाता है, जो सबको जन्म देती है, वही सुरक्षित नहीं है। महोदया, हाल ही में हुई पश्चिम बंगाल की एक घटना कितनी शर्मनाक है, कितनी भयावह है, जब एक लेडी डॉक्टर का बेरहमी से बलात्कार कर दिया जाता है, उसकी हत्या कर दी जाती है। उनके परिवार वालों को 3 घंटे तक उनके शव को दिखाया तक नहीं जाता, और तो और उनके परिजनों को प्रतीक्षा करने के लिए कह दिया जाता है। तो मैं फिर भी समान अधिकार की बात कही जाती है। मैं पूछती हूँ, कहाँ गया आपका महिला सशक्तिकरण, कहाँ गया आपका सामाजिक न्याय?
ऑर्डर।
महिला सशक्तिकरण मंत्री कृपया जवाब दें।
माननीय महोदया, अभी सरकार को इस संबंध में पूरी जानकारी नहीं है, पर हमारी सीबीआई जांच टीम इस विषय पर छानबीन कर रही है और जल्द ही आरोपी को गिरफ्तार किया जाएगा और उस पर उचित से उचित कानूनी कार्रवाई भी की जाएगी। हमारी सीबीआई जांच टीम इस विषय पर सबूत इकट्ठा कर रही है। भला बिना सबूत के कोई कैसे किसी को गिरफ्तार कर सकता है और कैसे सजा दे सकता है? और सजा देना कोर्ट का काम होता है, जज का काम होता है। फिर भी मैं आपको आपकी जानकारी के लिए बता दूं कि हम पूरे भारत देश में बढ़ते हुए अपराधों को देखते हुए रात 10 बजे से लेकर सुबह 6 बजे तक पुलिस हेल्पलाइन नंबर जारी किए गए हैं, जो कि आप सब लोग नोट कर लीजिए। 1091 और 100 पर संपर्क कर सकते हैं और इसकी मदद से आपको अपने गंतव्य तक निःशुल्क और सही सलामत पहुंचा दिया जाएगा।
नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन नंबर 105 श्री जी।
Sri ji is absent. Speaker madam.
Honorable member is absent. Next question number 6 श्रीमती एच।
Madam, will the Minister of Food and Civil Supplies be pleased to the state? First, the latest position of food grain reserve in the country. Second, whether keeping in view the present situation, government have adequate stock of food grains to meet the requirements of the country? And C, if no, the measures proposed to be taken by the government to deal with the situation.
Honorable Minister for Food and Civil Supplies.
Madam, I want to tell you that the total stock of food grains estimated by the public agency on 1st January 1988 was 14.14 million tons only. second and third. And also, I want to tell the opposing Mr. Srimati K that the present stock available in the buffer stock for the public distribution system are adequate to meet the present requirement. I want to repeat that the present stock available in the buffer stock for the public distribution system are adequate to meet the present requirement. So there is not need to take they does not need to take the concern of the food grain supply, and there is also a regular replacement for the stock for different operations. Further, the government is also keeping open the option to import food grains and when considered necessary.
Srimati H.
Madam, is it a fact that the revenue of a food grain has declined from 23 million tons